Alright, this chapter project is a little bit more tricky because it has so many different formulas. So I'm going to go through the whole project, but I'm going to go through pretty quickly. So starting in step number 2, we're going to define our names on the mailings tab. Mailing sheet A3 through D28. We're going to name it responses. You can type it right here, or you can come to formula, define name, and we're going to type responses. And double check, make sure you spell it right, and hit OK. The reason you want to name a range is it's a lot easier to use in a formula than the actual range itself. To B, click the mailing stats sheet, and we're going to click in cell B21 and type in Carthage. And then in C21, we're going to use a nested index and match function. So we're going to come up to our logical tab, formulas, lookup, and reference, and we're going to insert an index using that first option. In the array, we're going to use our name, responses. You could type in responses if you want to, but I like to use that button. Click the row number box and nest a match. So to do that, you're going to be on the left side and you're going to choose match. And now we're going to put in our match function. So we're going to select B21 as our lookup value. And we're going to use cells A3 through A28 on the mailings. So we're going to click back to mailings and use A3 through A28 because we want it to look up that information there on that sheet, and then match type is 0. And then instead of hitting OK, you're going to click back on the index to take us back to our index formula. Step G, you're going to click in our column number and we're going to do another match. So on the left hand side, click on match again. The lookup value is D3 on the mailings tab. So we're going to click mailings and we're going to click on D3. And then the lookup array is A3 through D3 on the mailings. So click back to mailings, A3 through D3, and my match type is 0. Okay, you can also look at the picture that it gives you on your instructions to make sure that your formula is correct. And then instead of hitting OK, I'm actually going to come back to index, make sure I'm all set to go, and I'm going to hit OK. And then step I, we want to format that with 0 decimal places. So you can either take out the zeros there or come into the format dialog box and make it as 0 decimal places right there. And then it just wants to show you in step J that if you change the city and make sure you spell it correctly or it's not going to work, SMYRNA, it's going to update my formula with the correct information for that city. Step number 3, use dsum to summarize mailing data. So on the mailings tab, note, it just kind of gives you a note on that one that the third column is the number mailed, fourth column is the number of responses, and that's important in our formula. But we're going to do this formula on the criteria tab. So 3B, we're going to click on B2 and we're going to type in land. So that references to anything with our landscape design department. We're going to come back to mailing sheets and we're going to be filling in this information right here. So we're going to use a dsum. So formulas, insert function, to start typing in dsum, make sure you hit go and then select it and hit OK. And we're going to use our responses range to gather the information. And we want to use the information in the third column because we're looking up the total sent. And we're going to use an absolute reference for our criteria, which is B1, B2 on the criteria. So you've got to click on criteria B1, B2, and we actually want to make this using our function F4, make it an absolute reference because we're going to copy and paste. And then I hit OK, and it gives me back. And you can always look at, the nice thing about our projects is it gives you a picture of what your sheets should look like, so you can reference back to see if your numbers are correct. Step number E, or 3E, says copy the formula to C7. So I'm going to copy it over. The only thing we have to change is it's the fourth column for the total number responses instead of the total sent. And we can update it there. For F, complete criteria for the two remaining departments on the criteria sheet. So we're going to come back to criteria. If I look at mailing status, I've got lawn and patio, so we're going to use law and pat. So we're going to type in law, and the little star indicates anything that after, and then pat with a star. We're going to come back and we are going to use our formulas in B8 to calculate results for these two. So if I copy this down, all I have to do is come and change my, let's see, where am I at? I've got to change my, right here, this B1 on the criteria. I just have to come in and change it to B4, B5 and make it an absolute reference. And then I can hit OK, copy it over, change this one to 4 because I want the fourth column. And then if I drag this down, again, I'm just going to come change up here. That's going to say you're wrong there. So I'm going to come into criteria and B7, B8, my function, and I hit OK. And you can double check and make sure that your numbers are correct. And I do need to copy this one over and change it to 4. Fourth column instead of third column. I like to check to make sure my numbers are right, just so I know I got my formula right. Alright, step number 4, we're going to use a sum, just a simple sum. So on my home tab, I can use my auto sum and hit enter, and my auto sum and hit enter. Oops. And it will sum up all of my information for me. Alright, step number 5, we're going to format all of our values as a comma style. So right here on number, I'm going to change it to comma style with no decimal places and come in here and make it our zeros. Alright, step number 6, we're going to create an ifs function to display a response rating. And so we're going to look up this information right here to tell if it was excellent, very good, and so forth. So response, we're going to click in cell D7, and we're going to use an ifs function. So on my formulas tab under the logical, we're going to do the ifs because I have more than one test that I want to give it. And so our formula for that first logical test is going to be C7. So C7 divided by B7 and is greater than or equal to 20%. And I'm just gathering this information from this little chart down here. And so if it's true, I want it to give me the result. I got my pages mixed up here. Let me find where we're at. Alright, I want it to give me the result of C15. And we want that to be an absolute reference so that I can drag that down. Alright, for D, we're going to do another logical test. We're going to say C7 divided by B7 is greater than or equal to 15%. And if that's true, it's going to give me the very good, so C16, and we're going to make that an absolute reference. And then in step number F, it says just to complete the rest of that. So we're going to say C7, it's going to be C7 divided by B7 is greater than or equal to 11%. And if that's true, it's going to give me good. And I got to come and take out that little plus sign, but we want to make sure that it's an absolute reference. And then I've got one more. This one's a little bit different. You're going to say C7 divided by B7 is less than or equal to 10%. Right there. And if that's true, it's going to give us the average, and then I can make that an absolute reference. So when I hit OK, I've got excellent, and I'm going to copy my formula down to D10. So it will give me my rating there based on my little chart. Step number 7, use sum ifs to total insurance claims by city. So we're going to click on the Employee Insurance Sheet tab and click on E25. And I'm actually going to stop this video and I'm going to create a new video because I'm almost out of time on this one. So I will pick it up again on the second video with step number 7.